A screenplay is not a movie. The screenplay is just a plan for the movie. And what works on paper, no matter how experienced the writer may have been, may not necessarily work on the screen. That's why directors exist, because they interpret written data and they turn it into visual performance. So, that being said, oftentimes, especially when I'm doing a narrative piece, I will explicitly ask to not be shared the script. Because the script was the plan to help us shoot the shots. But now we have the shots, and the shots are not the script. So I don't necessarily want to do the story that was on the script. I want to do the best version of the story that I possibly can. And sometimes that's different than what was written down. Changing the structure from what was intended to something better is something that happens fairly frequently. When I was in advertising, we would start with a script, and it had a certain order of all of the different things that we were going to present to our potential customers. And by the time we finally had a locked cut, we usually had cut 30% of everything that was supposed to be included in the script, and everything else was drastically rearranged. The script is not the law. The script is just a starting place. And if your footage calls for a different story structure entirely, do it. This happened to the science fiction thriller that I worked on. I was hired on to help the director find the story in some ways, kind of. They had a rough cut, but they knew that it needed some big improvements. I purposefully did not watch the rough cut, and I purposely asked to not have the script. And I started with the raw footage, and I assembled what I thought the story was supposed to be. The director came in and watched my assembly cut and loved it. There were a few things that were a little off that had to go back to the original way that they were in the script, but the overarching structure of the story, while loosely following the script, because it's the same footage, was different in some very significant ways, and he loved the changes. After I got busy and moved on and the director found another editor to finish, that editor changed even more things. The point is, the film is constantly evolving through the editing process. We have an idea of what we think we want it to be, and then we start going that direction, and then we adapt as we go, and it constantly changes. So don't be afraid to change the structure, to rearrange things drastically. If you're going to do something massive, maybe suggest it to your client first so that you don't freak them out when you have a completely different cut for them. But your job is to make the best video you can possibly make. And if rearranging stuff means a better video, then try to make it happen.